Hey, what's up, guys? Listen, we need to talk. Blake Lively has just dropped a groundbreaking lawsuit on what happened to her on that whole movie, It Ends With Us. Now, if you guys don't know, she's suing the director, Jessica Baldini, for sexual harassment, okay? And I got to tell you, I read the lawsuit. He sounds like an absolute monster. But why is this so important? Well, for a number of reasons. In the lawsuit, Blake Lively, I think because she's Ryan Reynolds' wife and she has a lot of emotions. She's heavily connected. She is blowing the lid off of the Hollywood media game. And all I got to say is this. I better not ever hear anyone talk about bloggers because the games they play in the Hollywood media, even from legitimate, reputable news sources, baby, you can't make this up. She exposes a scheme, a sophisticated scheme of called astroturfing, where they use fake grassroots narratives across all social media. They buy bots, they buy reporters, they buy articles, they buy write-ups. They even have bloggers on payroll, and not just like a few. There are whole industries of people that keep bloggers and YouTube channels and TikTok channels and Instagram thing on payroll. So when they're ready, they can unleash a wave. They call it astroturfing. You guys, this lawsuit is huge. Not to mention, Drake and Diddy have ties to the same PR agency that Blake Lively has exploded. Again, the industry is shaking. If you guys don't know about what happened with It Ends With Us, it was a movie that was produced by and no produced no directed and starred in by Justin. This is Blake Lively. If you guys have to know Gossip Girl. This is Blake Lively. Okay. Now, around that time, this weird narrative happened where Blake Lively became hated. There were all these things that circulated, her being a mean girl. We're not going to relitigate that. But in her lawsuit, she has texts from the PR campaign. If you guys think this is just like a little mean girling stuff, this goes huge. I have the whole lawsuit. It's a really good read. I'm going to go through, give legal analysis, but I just want to give you the whole thing, okay? They launched their Baldini and Wayfarer, I believe they are a billionaire, reportedly launched a sophisticated public relations smear campaign aimed at undermining Blake Lively's reputation. Why is this important? Because we are in the middle of a Diddy trial. And the thing is, there are a lot of people being pulled in. Drake worked with the same PR agency, okay? Diddy is reportedly to either working with this agency or working with an agency that does the same thing. On top of that, there are other billionaire moguls who make music who are employing the same thing. Again, the game is rigged. And Blake Lively, through her Hollywood connections, has decided to go scorch earth policy and show how the game is rigged and show how everything that we thought we knew that came out from all these trusted sources, all these people, it was all a lie, whipped up by this guy to cover up the fact that he's an absolute psycho. Again, this blew my mind. If you guys want a short version of this, I'll do a video after this, but let's get into these allegations because this is just going, I'm telling you, whatever you think is going on, it just gets worse and worse and worse. My heart actually breaks for Blake in this because, again, I'll be real. I didn't fall for it completely because I've actually like I know for a fact Blake Lively is a nice person, okay? Not saying that I know her personally, but I know people that actually know her and there's never been a whisper of anything like that, okay? So I kind of thought the campaign about her being this mean girl I was putting 20 on 10. But I'm not going to lie, I fell for a little bit. That reporter that was, Blake was like, "Oh, and how's your bump?" And she was like, "Oh my God, how could you say that I was infertile?" They're now saying that that was all made up. The New York Post, which was dropping hit piece articles left, right, and a third and fueling it. You know the New York Post. Well, guess what? The PR girl that was hired by Baldini to go on the onslaught to destroy Blake Lively's reputation because he didn't want Blake Lively to be believed when she came out and said all these horrible things that happened to her and the staff. And get this, they did this to Ryan. Who's she? Right? Ryan Reynolds' wife, I think. One of the Ryans. Ryan Reynolds' wife. They did this to Ryan Reynolds' wife. Imagine what they are doing to people that don't have money, don't have power, and are not well respected in Hollywood. I want to give a quick shout out to Free. Thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. And also, Deeply Lami, thank you so much for becoming a member. Also, really quick, you guys know I am actually going to say this. Um, if you guys don't know, there was a write-up that happened for me. Yes, I'm going to keep reporting this. There is a write-up that actually happened to me in the Hollywood Reporter. You guys, it's a great write-up. It's about how more Americans get their news from YouTube. There's no going back. And appreciation for Tisa Tells and her fellow amateur pundits who provided deep dive analysis of this year's biggest scandals. I am Tisa Tells. There is going to be a link to the article in the description box if you are watching this on playback. But one of the reasons I wanted to bring this article up, aside from the fact that I'm tooting my own horn, you guys, please go get that article read. I would appreciate the support, is the fact that in that article, Shirley Halperin, who is an amazing, amazing, amazing writer, one of the things that she goes on in that article to say is that at the end of the day, people are turning away from traditional news sources more and more and more, especially when you get into things like the Diddy trial, things that are breaking, things that are doing this and this and this. And a lot of people, listen, major news networks are cutting back, okay? Anchors, TV pundits for the first time in forever are being laid off. Hollywood is in a serious crisis. Everybody is wondering, why aren't people watching network TV? Why aren't people watching these people that used to guard the halls of knowledge? Again, why did I bring up this article? Besides the fact I'm in it, go ahead and check it out. Is the fact that when we get back into what happened with Blake Lively, they're not watching and listening because they just don't believe them, because they keep running mess like this. Anyway, you guys, with no further ado, let's actually get into this. And I'm telling you, Diddy, Drake, they're all involved in this. And we can even see what's happened in the last week against Tony Busby. Okay. Let me just get into this because you guys aren't going to believe this. All right. There is a trigger warning for this. This is Blake Lively versus, right? Blake Lively versus Wayfarer Studios, Justin Baldini, Jamie Heath, Steve Sarowitz, Melissa Nathan. She is the head of one of the biggest, best PR agencies that actually helped Drake go up against Pusha T. Jennifer Abel, RWA Communications LLC, Jed Wallace, Street Relations, and Jane Doe's 1 through 100. Now, Blake is going to get a bag from this, and I'm not going to lie, I kind of feel like she deserves to get a bag, right? I kind of think that this is somewhat Drake. She deserves a bag. Okay, let's get into this. Sorry, guys. On January 4th, 2004, prior to resuming filming of It Ends With Us, following guild strikes, an all-hands meeting was convened to address the hostile work environment that had nearly derailed production of the film. Attendees of the meeting, including Justin Baldini, who is the co-chairman and founder of Wayfarer Studios, the owner of the film, as well as director, executive producer, and actor in the lead role of Kyle Kincaid, James Heath, the chief executive officer of Wayfarer and producer of the film, Angie Giannetti, The film's representative for its distributor, Sony Pictures Entertainment, Alex Sachs, producer of the film, Todd Black, a producer of the film, and Blake Lively, who played the role of Lily Bloom in the film. Miss Lively also had agreed upon right to have representation present. She chose her husband, given that the meeting was about repeated sexual harassment and other disturbing behavior by Mr. Baldini and Mr. Heath. Now, again, the setup is so important because if you guys don't know, she was, hold on, guys. Hello? Oh, yeah, I'm on live right now. Sorry. No problem, right? Okay. So if you guys don't know, this is so important because she was framed as difficult to work with. She was framed as a mean girl. And it took the internet by storm. It pretty much destroyed her reputation, but it didn't happen organically. It's very telling that in this thing, she is the only woman in a room full of men, and she had to pull her husband into it. Again, this is a rich and powerful woman that they did this to. As discussed in detail below, Blake Lively was forced to address concerns about Mr. Baldini and Mr. Heath's misconduct with them directly, and begin doing so months before filming began. The concerns she raised were not only about herself, but for the other female cast and crew, some of who had also spoken up. The January 4th meeting occurred only after Wayfarer had rebuffed Blake's efforts repeatedly. During the January 4th meeting, the parties discussed in detail the inappropriate conduct that Blake, her employees, and other cast and crew experienced at the hands of Mr. Baldini and Mr. Heath. Mr. Heath, by the way, is a billionaire. I believe Baldini comes from money, but Heath, I believe, is very, very rich. After the list below was reviewed and discussed in its entirety, all parties present agreed that the outline conduct would cease. Now listen to this outline conduct. It's going to blow your mind away because things like this shouldn't happen. Let me see if I can actually zoom in. If not, I'll just read it off the screen. Listen to what they had to agree to. The Diddy and Drake connection is going to blow your mind, but just hold in for the details. No more showing nude videos or images of women, including producer's wife, to Blake Lively and or her employees. No more mention of Mr. Baldoni's or Mr. Heath's previous porno addiction or Blake Lively's lack of porno consumption to Blake Lively to other crew members. No more discussions to Blake Lively or her employees about personal experiences with SMECs, including as it relates to spouses or others. No more mention to Blake Lively or her employees of personal times that physical consent was not given in sexual acts as either the abuser or the abused. Already, this is what they had to sit down and get these people to agree to. They were showing porno. They were acting up. They were recounting instances where they took from a woman without consent. They were showing nude photos. They were asking her, so what's he like? What you're doing? All right. No more mention, no more descriptions of their own genitals to Blake Lively. No more jokes or disparaging comments made to Blake Lively or her employees about HR complaints Wayfarer has already received on set or about missing the HR meeting. No more inquiries by Mr. Baldoni to Blake Lively's trainer without her knowledge or consent to disclose her weight. This guy, much like Diddy, was obsessed with no woman could be over 140 pounds. This guy, Baldini, and it's weird that all abusers act this way. I mean, I'm sure Baldini says he's innocent. I believe Blake Lively. So, no, it seems like all these alleged abusers are kind of having the same narrative. They want to control their victim through their mind, through their body, and through it seems like mental torture. He literally was up. Mind you, when she was filming It Ends With Us, she was filming during the time, 4 months postpartum. 4 months postpartum. Baldini became obsessed with her weight. She was forced to lose a lot of weight in a very short time. But after that, he would go around her back and talk to her trainer. What's her weight? What's her weight? What's her weight? Calling her fat, calling her this, calling her that, to try to get into her head and actually break her down. And he went to her trainer and said, listen, the reason I have to know what her weight is constantly an everyday update is because there's a scene where I lift her up over my head and I need to make sure that her weight is something I can lift. That's the excuse he gave the trainer. And Blake has proof of this. We'll talk about this. Mind you, there was not one scene either written, added, or even deleted from the movie that had anything like that. It's not over. It's not over. No more mention by Mr. Baldini, Justin Baldini, of him speaking to Blake Lively's dead father. No more pressing by Justin Baldini to Blake to disclose her religious beliefs or unsolicited sharing of his. If Blake and or her infant is exposed to COVID again, Blake Lively must be provided with immediate notice as soon as Wayfarer or any other producers became aware of such exposure without her needing to cover it days later by herself. Blake Lively is alleging that they either purposely or negligently even exposed her 4-month-old infant to COVID knowingly. An intimacy coordinator must be present at all times when Blake Lively is on set in scenes with Justin Baldoni. No more personal, physical touching or sexual comments by Justin Baldini or Mr. Heath to be tolerated by Blake and any of her employees, as well as any female cast or crew without their express consent. No more improvising of kissing. All intimate touch must be choreographed in advance with Blake Lively and or an intimacy coordinator. No more biting or sucking a lip without Blake Lively's consent. And all intimate on-camera touch and conversations must be in character, not spoken from Justin Baldoni to Blake personally. Again, these are not alleged. This was a meeting, right? And this is the conduct that all people present, including Justin and his billionaire producer friend, agreed that they would stop doing to Blake. The fact that she was actually mentally abused in an online campaign that went out of control and grew like crazy. The fact that she was mentally abused by this and the whole world was calling her evil and a mean girl, and it was nothing but an elaborate plot with a lot of women that played along. I'm talking about the PR people allegedly. I'm talking about the reporters that played into it in order to punish her for speaking out against a Diddy of film. However, we'll get into the Diddy Drake connection. This is what they agreed to. They all said that it was happening. Okay. They said that Blake Lively is to have a representative on staff at all times and with a monitor during scenes involving nudity, sexual activity, and violence with Justin Baldini. All actors participating with Blake Lively in intimate scenes involving her being in any state of nudity or simulated nudity must be classified as acting working actors, not friends of the director or producers, and must be pre-approved by Blake Lively. Why did Blake Lively put that in there? We're going to get into the details, but let me just give you a little hint. There was a scene where she was giving birth, okay? Justin Baldini decided that it needed to be a full scene with nothing on except your birthday suit. Okay. And he wanted that. Blake Lively was like, why do you need a full scene when giving birth? They somehow agreed to do the scene from the neck down, from the chest down only. I guess it made a difference because Blake's like, at least if she didn't see her face, she could disassociate from the chest down. However, in that scene that had her graphically, it was supposed to be a closed set to protect her dignity. Okay. It's a very whatever. Not only did he have an open set with 1 million people walking by and watching her completely nude spread eagle on camera, the actor playing the OBGYN that was supposed to be delivering the baby was not a trained actor. And it was one of Justin Baldini's friends who he had just decided that day to put in the scene while she spread eagle and she's being harassed. On top of that, that day, for no reason, his billionaire partner, another producer in Wayfair, decided to show up on set and just stand watching the monitors while she is completely demoralized. Again, she is going to need some serious therapy. Could you imagine going through, you are being basically diddied, right? On set every single day. You have all the money and power, and it still cannot get you any respect. That's how rampant this whole thing is in Hollywood. But the sick part is when he was afraid of being exposed, he ran to a PR agency and they unleashed hell. And Blake Lively dug it all up. And she gave us the secret sauce about what Drake, Diddy, and any other billionaires and people of money are actively employing to change the narrative and make us think that victims are lying when they are not. Let's get back into this, right? No more filming of any Blake Lively nudity without fully executed SAG compliant nudity rider in place. Any such footage already shot without this rider in place and is in direct violation of SAG requirements and may not be used without Blake Lively's or her legal representative's permission. Any scene by Blake or another performer depicting the character of Lily that involves nudity or simulated sex must be conducted strictly in accordance with the above referenced nudity rider and must adhere to the Blake Lively approved script. Again, shout out to Blake Lively. She didn't just fight to make sure she got respected. She fought for her staff and she said every single woman. Again, this is just, I'm almost to the end of the list. This is just what Justin and that whole film thing agreed to. What Blake Lively alleges after that goes beyond the pale. So that's not, we can't say, oh, it didn't happen. We don't know. We don't know what happened. We do, because this is what the HR meeting with Blake's husband, Ryan, sitting right next to her, everybody agreed that they would stop this behavior and they signed it. An intimacy coordinator must be on set for all scenes involving nudity and or simulated sex and must have a monitor to ensure compliance. No monitors to be viewed or accessible on set, remotely, during closed set scenes, except by Blake Lively approved essential crew and personnel. When she was having the SMEX scenes or filming the SMEX scenes, they were literally broadcasting it like it was like they're like their own personal OnlyFans on the set. No more entering, attempting to enter, interrupting, pressuring, or asking Blake Lively to enter her trainers or her makeup trailer by Mr. Heath, that's the billionaire, or Justin Baldini while she is nude for any reason. No more private, multi-hour meetings in Blake Lively's trailer with Justin Baldini crying with no outside Blake Lively appointed representative to monitor. No more pressing by Justin Baldini to sage any of Blake Lively's employees. Is that sage? I don't know what sage means. Producer Alex Sachs to be given standard rights, inclusion, and authority per her job description and is represented to Blake Lively when signing on. So when Blake Lively signed onto this contract, she was told, because she was told it was going to be a woman producer, so it could be respectful of the content and this and that. And they did the okey doke and put in a billionaire that just wanted to, I don't even know what he was doing to Blake Lively, but also Justin Baldini. But we'll get into this, okay? No more pressing. I'm sorry. Sony must have an active daily role in overseeing physical production for the remainder of the film to monitor safety for cast and crew, schedule, logistics, problem solving, and creative. Engagement of an experienced producer to supervise the safety of the cast and crew, schedule, logistics, problem solving, and creative for the remainder of the shoot. Engagement, she gave examples: Todd Lieberman, Elizabeth Cantillon, Mary Yoon, or Lynette Howe. Engagement of Blake Lively approved A-list stunt double to perform Lily in scenes with Justin Baldini involving rape and violence. Blake to perform only close-up work or work from a Blake Lively pre-approved shot list in scenes with Justin involving sexual violence. It gets dark. Hold on, guys. No more adding of smex scenes, oral smex, or on-camera climaxing by Blake Lively outside of the scope of the scripts of Blake Lively approved when signing on to the project. No more asking or pressuring Blake Lively to cross physical picket lines. No more retaliative or abusive behavior to Blake Lively for raising concerns or requesting safeguards. An in-person meeting before production resumes with Justin Baldini, Mr. Heath, Miss Sachs, and Sony representative, a new producer, Blake Lively, and of course, Ryan Reynolds, to confirm and approve a plan for implementation of the above that will be adhered to for the physical and emotional safety of Blake Lively, her employees, and all the cast and crew moving forward. Okay, so that's where they already start off. And I know a lot of you might be like, what was going on? That this isn't even a lawsuit. This is what they agreed to stop doing on set. Let's get down and dive into how dirty and filthy and disgusting Hollywood is, and even someone married to Ryan Reynolds, someone who co-chaired the Met Gala, someone who is a big deal and very, very powerful in her own right, still had to succumb to. And again, keep in mind that these people don't just use it on starlets. They use it on normal men and women. Trishawn W. Backup said, "Sup, Tisa, congrats on making it to the Hollywood Reporter magazine. As a guy once said, we fight." Yo, don't forget, we fight from victory, not for victory. Indigo Sun, thank you so much. And thank you, Trishawn, for being a member for 1 month. Also, I want to give a big shout out to Indigo Sun. Said, yes, thank goodness for Blake and UT Satellis for doing this fabulous work. Let me tell you something. I got to give my hat off to Blake Lively that she actually had the courage. And thank you so much, Indigo Sun, that she just had the courage to actually rip the mask off of Hollywood, rip the mask off of how much astroturfing they do. We're going to find out what that is in a second. How many lies, how many publications and TV that were putting out this false narrative that they literally ran interference and laughed about it on text messages about how much they helped an abuser get away with it. It's wild to me. Also, Deeply Lami, if I didn't say it, thank you so much for becoming a member. Okay, let's get back into this. Sorry, guys. The meeting was an essential step in the process the parties had agreed to several months before to allow the cast and crew to safely resume production of the film. In mid-November 2023, the parties had agreed in writing to implement a list of protections enumerated in a contract entitled Protections for Returns to Production. They attached it as Exhibit A. Now, this included 17 provisions designed to require Wayfarer to cease the on-set behavior of Justin Baldoni and Mr. Heath. One of those provisions required an all-hands meeting to confirm and approve a plan for implementation of certain protections that will be adhered to for the physical and emotional safety of Blake Lively, her employees, and all cast members moving forward. That was Exhibit 17, what I just read to you guys. Now, after receiving the document, Wayfarer responded that Wayfarer, Sony, and production respectfully acknowledge that Blake Lively has concerns regarding safety, professionalism, and workplace culture. Although our perspective differs in many aspects, ensuring a safe environment for all is paramount, irrespective of differing viewpoints regarding your outline request. We find most of them not only reasonable, but also essential for the benefit of all parties involved. So they admitted, yes, not only was it happening, but it was essential. Why were they doing this? Because they thought that Blake would never sue. They thought that she would never find out that the PR firms, the troll farms, the bot farms, the paid planting of articles, of reaction channels in mainstream publications, they thought she'd never find out. So they really thought that they were just humoring her. Like, yeah, whatever. We'll let you do this just so you can resume filming and we can get this film out. But once they resumed filming and once the film got out, guess what? They unleashed hell and completely destroyed her reputation based off of lies, misrepresentations, and falsehoods. So Brett, the lawsuit goes on to say, at the end of the January 4th meeting, having discussed at length the details of the concerns that had been expressed by Blake Lively and others, the parties agreed to implement and even follow the protections for return to production to ensure that the film would be completed, marketed, and released safely and successfully. And it was. Production of the film resumed on January 5th and concluded on February 9th. The film has been a resounding success. Leading up to, leading up to, and in connection with the release of the film, during the summer of 2004, Blake and her fellow castmates promoted the film in accordance with the marketing plan created and delivered by the film's distributor, Sony, which was summarized in the talking points attached in Exhibit C. Now, really quick, if you guys aren't familiar with what talking points were and what the PR strategy is for marketing strategy for movies, it's simple. When you sit down and you're like, yo, okay, we just finished the movie, right? Tisa goes to Paris, right? And eats all the croissants. You sit down and you say, for everyone, what's the mood we want to convey? How do we want to do this? What do we want the public to say? Now, they give talking points, but they want to make sure that every actor, producer, everybody that was involved in that movie had conveys the same feeling, the same focus, what's going on. It's again, this is why media tours are so important. They are like they are choreography. They are choreography that is done by people in the movies. You know, the jokes, the laughter, this. If it's solemn, you all tell a very solemn, scary story. If it's happy, you laugh and you joke and you're playful with each other. If it's an intelligent one, you talk about quantum physics. Again, Hollywood is big billions. Nothing is left for granted. Okay. But let's keep going, all right? Also, I want to give a shout out to Quincy Ma. Thank you so much, Quincy Ma, for becoming a member. And Melly Mel. Melly says, Tisa, I got 5 on it. Thank you. Always love supporting you. You're an inspiration. Congrats on the recognition. Wishing you the best holidays. Thank you so much, Melly Mel. I love the Abby. And thank you so much. I wish happy holidays to you guys too. Okay, let's get back into this lawsuit because you guys, I am just touching the beginning of it. It gets like, this is the beginning, and when I say it gets insane, it gets insane. Okay. Now, so they have the talking points. They said Blake Lively and the other cast members were under a contractual obligation to render promotional service and according to the marketing plan. The marketing plan directed the cast to focus more on Lily's strength and resilience, as opposed to describing the film as a story about domestic violence. Okay. And to avoid talking about this film that may in any way that makes you feel sad or heavy. They're saying it's a story of hope. Again, they have the talking points. You guys need to remember all this because, baby, when I say it's a memento, sixth sense level plot twist, it's a memento, sixth sense level plot twist. Okay. It's also important to note, I actually read the book, It Ends With Us. And I do have to say that, yes, DB was talked about it, but it was pretty much a fluffy romance novel with a little bit of DB in it. But it was a story of hope and resilience. That's why when people were saying, oh my God, this disrespects the book. I was like, what are you talking about? Have you read the book? Because the book is a romance novel you would read while you're on the beach. Like, don't get me wrong, it's good, but it's not like Silence of the Lambs, the way everybody thought it was. Okay. They said, okay, so they go on to say that in the days leading up to the film's release, Justin Baldoni abruptly pivoted away from the film's marketing plan. Remember that, it's important. And the types of publicity activities in which he had previously participated. What the public did not know was that Justin and his team did so in an effort to explain why many of the film's cast and crew had unfollowed Justin Baldini on social media and were not appearing with them in public. To that end, he and his team used DV survivor content to protect his public image, as described in further detail below. They also say, make a footnote of saying, Wayfair ultimately confirmed its obligation to abide by all the protections for return to production in the contractual rider executed on January 19th. Mr. Baldini himself launched the marketing plan by hosting the first press event in early May 2024, a month before any other cast did any promotion on the film. What the public also did not know was that this was the beginning. And you guys, here's where we get into some deep Hollywood shit that lets you know everything that you think you know about Hollywood is a lie. But it's a lie to protect behavior like this. What people also did not know was that this was the beginning of a multi-tiered plan that Justin and his team described it as social manipulation designed to destroy Blake Lively's reputation. The plan was backed by virtually unlimited resources. Wayfair's co-founder, co-chairman, and leading financier is multi-billionaire Steve Sarowitz, who divulged at the film's New York premiere on August 6, 2024, that he was prepared to spend $100 million to ruin the lives of Blake Lively and her family. He went on record at the New York film premiere and said he was prepared to spend $100 million to ruin the lives of Blake Lively and her family. Now, think about Diddy and that $50 million he had because he couldn't because he couldn't get out on bail. Think about all the money Drake has. Think about all the money Jay-Z has. Think about all the money any big celebrity has. And think about how over the years, claims have come up against them. And then all of a sudden, there's this sandstorm of negative comments, bots, people doing long Twitter threads out of nothing, exposing, don't you know, don't you? This is the game. Blake's about to break the game down, but let's keep going. All right. With that backing, Justin Baldini and his Wayfair associates embarked on a sophisticated press and digital plan in retaliation for Blake Lively exercising her legally protected right to speak up about their misconduct on the set, with the additional objective of intimidating her and anyone else from revealing in public what had actually occurred. Is this beginning to sound familiar? It will. Now, let me just stop and say this. Jay-Z has been accused of horrible things. He says he's innocent. Diddy has been accused of other horrible things. He says he's innocent. Justin Baldini has been accused of this. I'm sure Justin Baldini will say they are innocent. Keep in mind that this is what Blake Lively is alleging. It has not been tested in a court of law. She does have that signed document from Justin Baldini. She divulges a lot of information about what they use, the troll farms they go through, and how the Hollywood game works. But the men, powerful men, rich men, even this multi-billionaire who spent $100 million to ruin the lives of Blake and her family. Okay. I'm sure they maintain they're innocent too. Keep that in. Again, these are allegations. However, Blake Lively has gone in front of the court of law and put her money where her mouth is, and she wants justice for this. So take that for what it is. Now, on July 31st, 2024, following the recommendation of their publicist, Jennifer Abel, Wayfair and Justin Baldoni retained a crisis communication specialist named Melissa Nathan and her company, the agency group PR LLC. Miss Nathan delivered a proposal to Justin Baldoni, which included a website to discuss full Reddit threads, full social account takedowns, This means on various social media, from TikTok to Twitter to YouTube to Instagram, take down threads, right? It's not over. Full social crisis team on hand for anything to engage with audiences in the right way, to start threads of theories, to discuss this is the way to be 100% fully protected. Now, why is this so important? I know what you're saying, well, Tisa, what does mainstream media have to do with this? Because it was an ecosystem that fed. They would plant stories, or as I like to call them, hit pieces and mainstream media articles, right? Mainstream media on news of this, of that. And then from the mainstream media saying, hey, this is happening. Blake's a mean girl. Blake did this. Blake did that. Look at Blake acting so stupid at the This Is Us press tour. Remember how everybody was dragging her saying, this is a film about domestic violence and you're acting so odd. I think there's something wrong with Blake Lively. That narrative was created by these people to hide the abuse that happened to her. Blake Lively is alleged. What was that? They would plant all this stuff in mainstream media. And then once it was planted in mainstream media, they would go to, and I quote, websites that discussed full Reddit threads, full social account takedowns, that was expanded, whatever, full social crisis team on hand to do anything and engage with anyone. So what it did was then they would let it out to the social media and people would be like, wait, I see like a whole takedown thread on Twitter. Is there any truth to this? But then they remembered the day before they saw in legitimate media something saying the same thing. So they're saying, oh, it must be true. Anyway, right? Miss Nathan, right? That's Melissa Nathan. She's a crisis communication specialist. Melissa Nathan also proposed the creation of social fan engagement to go back and forth with any negative accounts, helping to change the narrative and stay on track. So remember how sometimes you guys, I do lives, or sometimes we talk about something and all of a sudden there's people gang banging in the comments, arguing, F you, going crazy, arguing with people, things get really vicious and really weird. Blake Lively is letting it know, she's going to break it down in further detail, that it was all paid for. They even pay people, right, to go into what they call negative accounts. And those are accounts being like, well, I don't see what Blake Lively did that was so bad. Like, what's the big deal? Like, okay, fine. She was a little grumpy, but she was pregnant. We're not going to give a pregnant woman a break because she felt a little grumpy. How would Blake Lively knew that the interviewer had fertility issues, which even, by the way, they're actually saying that might not even be true, right? But the whole point of the matter is they consider anyone saying, well, give her a break, she's pregnant, as being a quote unquote negative account. So they would actually pay bot, troll falls, engagement farmer. They would even pay real news reporters or whatever, right? To go and get into a back and forth with the accounts that weren't on the Blake hate train, to help change the narrative and stay on track. Her, Melissa Nathan, the crisis communication manager, they have Texas say this. All of this will be most importantly untraceable. Think about what's going on with Diddy. Think about what's going on with Drake. Think about what's going on with other people. All of it must be importantly untraceable. Mrs. Abel described, and I believe that is Jennifer Abel, that was the publicist. Jennifer Abel described it. The plan was to engage in social media mitigation and proactive fan posting to counter the negative, as well as social manipulation. Okay. Now, Blake puts a footnote and says that she obtained the communications, the text messages set forth in the complaint through legal process, including a civil subpoena. Okay. And she's bringing up allegations of astroturfing. For you guys who don't know what astroturfing is, it is the deceptive practice of hiding the sponsors of an orchestrated message or organization, advertising, religious, or public relations, to make it appear as though it originates from and is supported by unsolicited grassroots participants. It is a practice intended to give the statements or organizations credibility by withholding the information about the source's financial backers. Now, get this. This plan went well beyond standard crisis PR. What Miss Nathan proposed included a practice known as astroturfing. I just explained that, which is defined as the practice of publishing opinions or comments on the internet, in the media, etc., that appears to come from ordinary members of the public, but actually come from particular companies or a political group. On August 2nd, 2024, Tag circulated a scenario planning document to Justin Baldoni, to Heath, and others, which describe preparations and strategy should Blake Lively and her team make her grievances public. Again, when you wonder why people never spoke out for 30 years, because Blake Lively has money. She has legal, she has her husband. They did this against regular, ordinary citizens, okay? They said attached here too is Exhibit D. To get ahead of this narrative, Miss Nathan's plan proposed strategies to advance misleading counter narratives, including pushing Nathan's narrative that Blake Lively had a less than favorable reputation, proposing to explore planting stories about the weaponization of feminism, and misleadingly blaming Blake Lively for production members' job losses. Let's actually read this text message together because, oof, this is literally Justin Baldoni with the girl, I think it's Tag. With Tag, circulating scenario planning. Morning. Not in love with the document they sent. Not sure I'm feeling the protection I felt on the call. This is Justin saying that. The person that did all this crap to her. Wait till you hear. They said, well, this is the first time I'm personally going through the scenario planning with them. So I think let's let them discuss the thinking behind the document and the actual process and the protocol of how they implement these things. That's the most important part of this, is how quickly they can shut things down and place stories in your favor. Be honest on this call and let's give real feedback at each point. Justin Baldini. Yeah, it just feels very much like there's not much defense. And also them feeling strong, like she's going to do something just a bit concerning what everyone had originally thought. Again, they destroyed this woman because she had the power to expose them. Initially, Justin Baldini expressed concerns that Tag's written plan was insufficiently aggressive enough to protect him. Writing to Mr. Heath and Abel, he said he was not in love with the document they sent. Not sure. Okay, I just wrote that. In response, Mr. Heath attempted to reassure Justin that they had found the right people for his campaign. In Mr. Heath's words, the most important part of this is how quickly they can shut things down and place stories in your favor. Now, I know what y'all thinking. Oh, it's just the blogs. It's not just the blogs. It was mainstream media. That's the scariest part. I know they better never say anything, even though on this channel, we are giving blogging a good name. Baby, we taking blogging out of the gutter and giving it a new name. Forget blogging. We are amateur pundits. To quote the great Shirley Halperin. Later that day, Miss Abel and Miss Nathan exchanged the following text messages expressing that Justin Baldini wants to feel like Blake Lively can be buried. Miss Abel and Miss Nathan, it's disgusting that it was women involved with this, agreed that, of course, they would do just that, but could not say so in writing. They said to each other, we can't write it down to him. We can't write, we will destroy her. Imagine if a document saying all those things that he wants ends up in the wrong hands. They wrote this in the little court papers. Let me read the text messages to you guys really quick. Blake Lively subpoenaed the text message. This is Jessica Abel. I think these are emails. Actually, this is emails. No, these are text messages. You can of course do that. But I think Justin needs to know. I'm going to confidentially send you something he's texting me and Jarny. Jamie, on the side, just to arm you before this call, I think you guys need to be tough and show the strength of what you guys can do in these scenarios. He wants to feel like she can be buried. Of course. But you know, when we send over documents, we can't send over the work we will or could do, because that could get us in a lot of trouble. We can't write it down to him. We can't write, we will destroy her. We will go to this. We will do this. We will do this. We will do this. He has to look at it as an information document for us to get armed with. That's all. Imagine if a document saying all the things that he wants ends up in the wrong hands. You guys, again, it gets worse. This is just a lead up. Miss Nathan followed this by assuring Miss Abel, you know we can bury anyone, but I can't write that to him. She said, you know we can bury anyone, but I can't write that to him. I will be very tough. Now, a few days later, on August 5th, 2024, Justin Baldini set the narrative for the social media campaign, sending Miss Abel a screenshot of a thread on X that had accused another female celebrity of bullying women. Justin Baldini stated, this is what we would need. And again, they had the screenshot. The screenshot said, Hailey Bieber's history of bullying many women, not just Selena Gomez, throughout the years. And it was a Twitter thread. Okay. It was a Twitter thread. He said, this is what we would need. Now, again, I feel sorry for Hailey Bieber. She's been buried in the press. Ask yourself who paid for that. Because again, we think these threads, and we've all seen those Twitter threads where it's all these receipts from years and years and years. And we're like, wow, how did you get that? Right? The thing is, they're nothing but sometimes they're thinly veiled takedown articles. And if you think that, oh, well, I've followed this person forever. I've read this article forever. I've followed this news media forever. Guess what? Those people are paid to put it in there. The publisher, the PR people accumulate all the evidence and then they give them to your faves to actually circulate around. Let's keep going. He said, this is what we would need. She said, yes, literally, just spoke to Melissa about this on break about what we discussed last night on social and digital. Focus on Reddit, TikTok, and IG. Now, again, I've said this a lot about YouTube, and please go check out my feature. I know, shameless promotion. It's in the what do you call it? The description box. But the thing about this is, I've said this once and I've said this a million times. It's hard. The reason why you don't really see YouTube getting involved in these fake narratives is because it's very hard to fake engagement on YouTube. All right? It's very hard to fake engagement on YouTube. Hold on really quick. Hold on really, really quick. Okay, sorry guys, I'm here. Sorry about that. Just going through a little PR thing. Okay, so in any case, right? This is actually what's going on. Okay, so um it's very, very hard, like I said, to fake engagement on YouTube, because I will say, for better or for worse, the people in the comments usually are people, and it's hard to pay off every single blogger on YouTube because everybody has their own opinion. Again, I'm not saying the biggest accounts aren't paid off, but in YouTube, one of the great things about YouTube is the little accounts have a biggest voice too. And somebody that has like 50,000 subscribers, 5,000 subscribers, 100,000 subscribers can literally get a video that goes viral. So it's very hard, to play. It's like playing whack-a-mole when it comes to YouTube. Okay. So in any case, right? So anyway, let's get back into this. So this is where we're at. They sent a picture of Halle Bieber and they said, oh, yeah, this is not even a picture, a thread of Halle Bieber. And they were like, yeah, this is what we really, really, really want to happen. Okay. So that sets the scenes. Miss Abel responded that she had just spoken to Melissa about this, what they discussed last night on social media. Focus on Reddit, TikTok, IG, with reassurances that Blake Lively will be destroyed and buried. Wayfair and Justin directed Miss Nathan and her team to actively engage in retaliatory social manipulation campaigns. Oh, it gets worse. It gets worse. Oh, okay. So let's go to the next one. Uh, let's see. Okay, I'm just trying to queue up next slide. Okay, so here we go. In the weeks and months that followed, with the direction, and approval of Wayfarer and Justin Baldoni, the team engaged in a sophisticated, coordinated, and well-financed retaliation plan. The retaliation campaign, okay, relied on more than just publicists and crisis managers spinning stories. They also retained subcontractors, including, listen to this is most shocking, including a Texas based contractor named Jed Wallace, who weaponized a digital army around the country from New York to Los Angeles to create, seed, and promote content that appeared to be authentic on social media platforms and internet chat forums. The Baldini Wayfarer team would then feed pieces of this manufactured content to unwitting reporters, making content go viral in order to influence public opinion and there be caused an organic pylon. Now, let me just say this, right? I disagree with this lawsuit right there. When you say unwitting reporters, Shirley Halpern, she's one of the best reporters out there, right? There's a lot of reporters that actually do their research. The path of being a reporter, we expect you, and this goes for any media, legacy media, we expect you to research. We expect you to do more than what we are doing, right? I see a Twitter thread, I come on here and discuss it, okay? But you would think, and I actually research, right? But the thing is, reporters were being fed takedown pieces. They weren't researching, they weren't vetting, they were just sitting there and reposting it and adding to the narrative over and over and over. I believe, and this is my point, Blake Lively works in Hollywood. She's not going to call any specific reporter out by name because you don't want retaliation. But the fact that in this ecosystems, legacy media was not doing their job. Legacy media was getting talking points and one-sided things from a PR and crisis management people, and they just ran with that without thinking, without stopping, without anything. And they saw the fire they were fueling, and they still did not talk. Again, they ran it much like they ran legacy media, much like they accuse TikTokers of doing, YouTube doing. You see what I'm saying? Anyway, right? To safeguard against the risk that Blake Lively ever, oh wait, the Bob Baldini Wayfarer team would then feed pieces of its manufactured content to unwitting reporters, making, hold on, guys, really quick. I just gotta drop. Okay, sorry about that. My delivery's here. Let's wrap this up. I'm joking. I'm gonna finish, but I had to get my food. Anyway, okay, right? To say so they were making content go viral. They manufactured content to unwitting reporters, making content go viral in order to influence public opinion and there be caused an organic pylon. To safeguard the risk of Blake Lively ever revealing about Justin Baldini, the Baldini Wayfarer team created, planted, amplified, and boosted content designed to eviscerate Blake Lively's credibility. They engaged in the same techniques to bolster Justin Baldini's credibility and suppress any negative content about him. Again, this PR play is said to be used by Diddy's current crisis management and current PR team. People said that Drake was actually a client, is still is a client of these very people. And they are saying this is a play he used to eviscerate Pusha T when it was revealed that he had a child that I don't know, we didn't know about it, and I don't know, right? The whole point of the matter is these tactics, this crisis team, this PR team, this is what's going on. Look what's going on with that 13-year-old with Diddy. Look what's going on about all of Diddy's suspected people. Look indeed what is happening. It is scary. But the fact is that it goes deeper than somebody playing bots to be like, oh my God, I love Drake. They're not like us, it's garbage. Oh my God, Diddy's my favorite. Remember when Christian Combs took over their father's account? Not Chris, yeah, Christian took over Diddy's account to be like, I want to remind everybody what my daddy did. Remember when Quincy was like, yo, we're doing this? They were stepping out in the media field because they needed some sort of excuse that people could rally around Diddy grassroots. Remember how every time there was an exclusive about Diddy that we got, and the chat would be swarmed with psychos being like, oh, please, how do we know? Like just saying weird stuff, just outline because they were paid Fox. Remember how out the blue, some of our favorite commenters and even TV and media were saying things about, oh, Diddy's respected. Diddy's this. Remember how it seemed that everybody was looking at them as Diddy as like, oh, he's a good man. And everybody else was liars. They were poised to do this with Cassie. When Diddy decided he wasn't going to settle with Cassie, they were poised to do this and eviscerate Cassie. The only thing is, I think it's because he was being secretly investigated by the police. We were the first to report that Diddy was being investigated by New York State, New York City, and the feds. We were the first to report. Everybody said we were lying and spreading gossip. We were the first to report that New York City and New York State had stepped aside because the Homeland Security investigation said, oh, we have this whole case. We were the first to report that there was going to be a grand jury convened. We were the first to report that there was going to be a grand jury indictment. We were the first to report that Diddy was going to be charged. We were listen, again, back then, there were a lot of trolls doing like the media. Oh, that's ridiculous. What are you talking about? You're lying. You're nothing but a liar. Who can believe this? But just spreading. But if you think, and we're getting into it, that's only with trolls, no, a sophisticated organization that uses legacy media as the seed of legitimacy to spread all this mess around. So legacy media gives the seed of legitimacy, spreads all this stuff around, And then what happens, right? It keeps going, and it gets a life of their own. That's why Shirley Harper in the Hollywood Reporter said that YouTube is the new TV, because I firmly believe that YouTube and also TikTok stopped Diddy's narrative that he was trying to do in his tracks. And I think that's why so many celebs want to stop. They want TikTok down, right? And when I say celebs, I mean even like politicians and stuff. Politics and celebrity news, they want to stop TikTok and they want to get a hold of YouTube so that they can find a way to control the narrative. But let's keep getting back into this, okay? Okay. They engaged in the same techniques to bolster Mr. Baldini's credibility and suppress any negative content about him. On August 10th, the day of the release of the film, Miss Nathan's team reported that they had started to see a shift on social due largely to Jed and his team's efforts to shift the narrative. To shift the narrative. Let me read this text message to you guys in case you can't see it close enough on the screen. Hi, team. This is Jennifer Abel. Hi, team. So far, extremely limited pickup on Daily Mail or Page Six. Now, remember when I said that Page Six doesn't just post gossip? If you see something in Page Six, it is coming from a PR team, it's coming from the celebrity, right? Again, it is gossip unfounded, but it's coming from the celebrity. That's why when you see stuff on Page Six, you need to pay attention to it. Well, guess what? One of the people that were running the smear campaign, her sister was a writer for Page Six. Let's get into this. We'll continue to keep an eye out and send pieces as needed. But so far, it's been steady coverage on pure speculation. Again, they're saying we're keeping an eye out to see if Blake can actually get a counter narrative out there. But so far, we see a steady barrage of speculation. We've also started to see a shift on social, due largely to Jed and his team's efforts to shift the narrative towards shining a spotlight on Blake and Ryan. Again, we'll continue to send links and screenshots, but wanted to send an update in the meantime. That same day, Miss Nathan noted that as part of this shift, the majority of socials were so pro Justin, and I don't even agree with half of them, lol. She said the majority of socials are so pro Justin, and I don't even agree with half of them, lol, which means their campaign of seeding was so effective that it exceeded everybody's wildest dreams to eviscerate. Don't forget, the point of this was to eviscerate and destroy a woman that had been sexually harassed to the point of she almost lost her mind. And again, they did this against somebody that actually is a millionaire in their own right. Imagine what they're doing to all these victims. Imagine what they're doing to the 13-year-old victim. Okay. Again, she doesn't even agree with half of them. What fueled this? How did it get so far? Quite simple. Legacy media. Legacy media provided the credibility that all the histrionics, all the BS, all the things that everybody was saying, there was a seed of truth in it. Because look, it was printed in the New York Post. Look, it was printed in the New York Times. Look, it was presented here. Look, it was presented there. Again, really quick, let me just read these super chats really quick. That girl, Roro, thank you so much for becoming a member. And also Trishawn W said, Tisa is just the realest YouTuber out there. I mean, from technical difficulties, taking phone calls, ordering food, Tisa's just natural, and we love her for that. Keep doing your thing, Tisa. Thank you so much, Trishawn. What y'all want me to do? I paid for the DoorDash. Are you insane? After that, in this economy, after that service fee, and are you insane? I am not letting that DoorDasher go. And no, I don't trust them putting it outside the front door. Not the DoorDasher, but no, I'm sorry. Sorry. In this economy, I cannot afford to miss my takeout. Sorry about that. They came earlier than expected. Okay, let's get back into this. But thank you so much, Rashawn. Okay, here we go. Mr. Nathan then bragged to Miss Abel that Justin Baldoni doesn't realize how lucky he is right now, by which they were referring to the successful efforts to shut down stories that would have revealed how Justin Baldini's behavior, including sexual connotations on set, had made the cast and crew, not just Blake, but the whole cast and crew, so uncomfortable. Again, Blake had the text message subpoenas that said, he doesn't realize how lucky he is right now. We need to press on him just how effing lucky. The whispering in the air, the sexual connotations like Jesus effing Christ, other members feeling uncomfortable watching it. I mean, this is just so much. So apparently, I think what happened here was there was a smeck scene. And, with Hollywood, the smeck scenes are highly choreographed to respect the actors, not really like doing the do, right? But while it was going on, Justin Baldini was getting into it, whispering in her ear. Like it was getting grapey. It was getting grapey. It was getting grapey. Less than 1 week later, they again bragged about how they had shut down stories regarding HR complaints on set. On August 15, 2024, Melissa Nathan remarked that this went so well. It was genius. So, okay, we have the four majors standing down on HR complaints. Again, there were so many people that had been disgusted or sexually harassed on set, and they had gotten the four biggest accusers to stand down. And when it came to HR complaints, they were pushing everything down. Again, if they can do this on a Hollywood set where people are being paid and there is a union and there is SAG, and on top of that, they know that they can sue. What do you think that they're doing out here to what do you think they're doing out here to these women that say, "Oh my God, Diddy did this, Drake did that, blah 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 blah." Now, I'm not saying implying that Drake is being accused of anything sexual, but Drake is a client of this firm. And what they are describing is pretty much parcel and pull what happened with Drake and Pusha T when Drake claimed he won the battle and eviscerated Pusha T. But let's get back into this, shall we? Um, they said, Jen, this what went so well. I am effing dying. They were laughing. Two women were laughing their butts off that a woman who was 4 or 5 months postpartum, who was being sexually harassed with those disgusting things that we described earlier, was now having her reputation torn apart so that people were talking about boycotting the movie and they were talking about ruining her career and they literally thought they succeeded at ruining her career all because they were trying to cover up for the abuser. But at the end of the day, this had to go a step further than Justin Baldini. They were covering up for their masters. That billionaire, who's also the producer, who is Justin Baldini's good friend, said he was going to spend up to 100 million to destroy Blake Lively because she had the nerve, and Ryan Reynolds, because she had the nerve to say, "You're not treating me, my employees, or the cast like this anymore." Anymore. She bought them the heel in HR, so they decided to take things outside and destroy her like that, and they wanted it to be completely untraceable. Again, these text messages were subpoenaed by a court of law. She said, "Jen, this went so well. I'm effing dying. I have to call you later in a bit and tell you how this went. It was genius." Um, Melissa emailed, text message Jen again. So, okay, we have the four majors standing down on the HR complaint. I think we're fine. I think we're fine on that bit. Yeah, they literally used women to conspire to quiet the sexual harassment. Now, on August 16th, right? On August 16th, Miss Nason circulated a Daily Mail article entitled String of hard to watch videos that have surfaced following tone deaf Q&A to promote It Ends With Us, what tarnished 36-year-old's golden Hollywood image for good. To which Miss Abel responded, "Wow, you really outdid yourself with this piece." Mrs. Nathan replied, "That's why you hired me, right? I'm the best." Again, mainstream legacy media buried Blake Lively. Mainstream legacy media. They hid behind legitimacy. Is Blake Lively set to be canceled? String of hard to watch videos that have surfaced following the tone deaf Q&A to promote It Ends With Us could tarnish the 36-year-old's golden Hollywood image. Okay. They said, "Wow." They said, "You really outdid yourself with this piece. That's why you hired me, right? I'm the best." As their words reveal, the purpose of this social manipulation plan was twofold. To aim, it aimed to both A, conceal the pattern of harassment and other misconduct by Justin Baldini, Mr. Heath, and Miss Wayfarer, and to retaliate against Miss Lively by battering her image, harming her businesses, and causing her and her family severe emotional harm. Millions of people, including many reporters, okay, including many reporters and influencers who saw these planted stories, social media posts, and other online content had no idea they were unwittingly consumers of a crisis PR, astroturfing, and digital retaliation campaign created and funded by Justin Baldini and Wayfarer, the billionaire, to hurt Blake Lively. This is precisely the goal of astroturfing campaign, to light a fire and continue to stoke conversations secretly, blurring the line between authentic and manufactured content and creating a viral public takedown. As laid out in this complaint, um, Justin Baldini, Wayfarer-led public attack of Blake Lively was the intended result of a carefully crafted, coordinated, and resourced retaliatory scheme to silence her and others from speaking out about the hostile work environment that Justin Baldini and Mr. Heath created. As such, it is not only unconscionable in a breach of contract, but also illegal under both state and federal law. Blake Lively brings this action to hold Wayfarer and its leaders, Baldini, Heath, and Sarowitz, that is the billionaire, accountable for the ongoing retaliation, threats, and harm they have caused Blake Lively, other cast and crew, and their families. You guys, that was just an intro to this lawsuit. Again, Drake is still with this PR firm. Think about his little wages campaign. Also, if Diddy is not with this firm and has not used them for crisis and whatnot, he has used one of their competitors that do the same exact thing. Okay, now get this. Mr. Baldini, now here's the factual background. Justin Baldini and James Heath of Wayfarer engaged in inappropriate and unwelcome behavior toward Blake Lively and others on the set of It Ends With Us. Listen to what they endured and what they covered up. Justin Baldini launched Wayfarer Studios along with Sarowitz in 2020. He serves as Wayfarer's chief executive officer. Sarowitz is a leading financier of Wayfarer, and Heath and Baldini are all close personal friends. Under the Wayfarer banner, Justin Baldini and Heath have many platforms, including the Man Enough podcast, which they co-host. Justin Baldini and Mr. Heath have positioned Wayfarer as a male feminist platform that explores gender roles, dismantles toxic masculinity, and creates a safer and judgment-free society for women. Justin serves not only as a co-founder and co-chairman of the studio that financed and ran production of It Ends With Us, he also served as director, executive producer, and co-lead actor, playing the role of Kyle Kincaid. As studio head and director, all actors, crew, and staff on the field, including Blake Lively, answered to Justin Baldini. In his words, he was the leader who sat at the top of the totem pole, while Sony was the distributor releasing the film. Wayfarer was responsible for the production, and Wayfarer also led Justin and Heath. The production of the film began in early May 2003 and lasted until it was suspended in mid-June 2023 due to the Writers Guild strike. During that time, Blake and other cast and crew experienced invasive, unwelcome, unprofessional, and sexually inappropriate behavior from Justin and Heath. Because Justin and Heath held all leadership positions of the production, they answered to no one and brushed off or ignored the concerns that Blake and others expressed. Again, why is this so shocking? Because again, legacy media dropped the ball. You wouldn't TikTokers investigate, YouTubers investigate. Whether or not you expect them to, most of them actually do. But when it actually comes to this guy, legacy media, when you get stories like this that are so damaging, you would think they would put a little bit into investigation. They did not. All this stuff was there when the cast unfollowed him, when they stopped talking, when they did. There were all these clues that something was off and there was a power disruption. They didn't want to listen. As a matter of fact, they did pieces, much like that 13-year-old girl, I think, with the Diddy case, which was a hit piece. Justin Baldini ignored well-established industry protocols in filming intimate scenes and exploited the lack of controls on set to behave inappropriately. Wayfarer failed to adhere to guild rules, as well as Blake Lively's contract and industry standard safety protocols for respect to nudity and intimate scenes, which the Screen Actors Guild and the American Federation of Television Radio Artists (SAG-AFTRA) acknowledges places performers in uniquely vulnerable situations. These safeguards, ignored by Wayfarer, included providing performers with appropriate notice of nudity and simulated smecks and ensuring that consent is given free of pressure or coercion. Signed nudity writers are in place, spelling out the parameters of the nudity and the simulated smeck scene. Safe and secure working conditions that are not detrimental to the performer's health, safety, morals, or career, and the use of intimacy coordinators to observe the intimacy scenes to make sure that nobody is actually raped on set. Without these protections in place, Justin Baldini improvised physical intimacy that had not been rehearsed, choreographed, or discussed with Blake, with no intimacy coordinator involved. For instance, Baldini discreetly bit and sucked on Blake Lively's lower lip during a scene in which he improvised numerous kisses on each take. Justin Baldini insisted on shooting the full scene over and over again, well beyond what would have been required on an ordinary set and without advance notice or consent. He was doing this in broad daylight. Again, the industry is sick. On another occasion, Justin Baldini and Blake Lively were filming a slow dance scene for a montage in which no sound was recorded. Justin Baldini chose to let the camera roll and have them perform the scene, but did not act in character as Ryle. Instead, he spoke to Blake Lively out of character as himself. At what point he leaned forward and slowly dragged his lips from her ear and down her neck as he said, "It smells good." None of this was remotely in character or based on any dialogue in the script, and nothing needed to be said because, again, there was no sound. Justin was caressing Blake with his mouth in a way that had nothing to do with their roles. When Blake Lively objected to this behavior, his response was, "I'm not even attracted to you?" Justin Baldini improvised gratuitous sexual content and scenes involving nudity into the film, including for an underage character in highly unsettling ways. Oh my God. After Blake signed onto the movie based on a draft of the script, Justin, without Blake's knowledge or consent, personally added graphic content, including a scene in which Blake Lively was to on camera. When Blake objected to these auditions, Baldoni insisted he had added them because he was making the film through the female gaze. Although he agreed to remove the scenes, he made a last-ditch attempt to keep one in which the couple owed together on their wedding night, which he said was important to him because he and his partner uh, continue simultaneously during intercourse. Justin Baldini then intrusively asked Blake Lively whether she or her husband do the big O together during intercourse, which Blake Lively found invasive and refused to discuss. On the day of shooting the scene in which Blake's character gives birth, Justin Baldini and Mr. Heath suddenly pressured Blake Lively to simulate full nudity, despite no mention of nudity for the scene in the script, her contract, or in previous creative discussions. Justin insisted that Blake Lively, a woman that had just given birth 4 months ago, that women give birth naked, and that his wife had ripped her clothes off during labor. He claimed it was not normal for women to remain in their hospital gowns while giving birth. Blake disagreed, but felt forced into a compromise that she would be in the nude from below the chest down. They said generally, and they have a footnote saying generally nudity below the waist in film utilizes a small piece of nude fabric glued around the female actor's genitalias to provide some minimal privacy without disturbing the shot, because that fabric is not able to be visible have visible straps. So usually they have like some type of modesty cover, and she's saying that he made him in an open set be completely, you know. Anyway, when the birth scene was filmed, the set was chaotic, crowded, and utterly lacking in standard industry protections for filming nude scenes, such as choreographing the scene with an intimacy coordinator, having assigned nudity writer, or simply turning off the monitors so the scene was not broadcast all over on the set. Okay. Um, okay. Was not broadcast all over the set, the crew on set, and their personal phones and iPad. So while this was all happening, they had it going on their personal phones and iPad. Imagine how many people probably screen recorded. Because why are you even watching that? You know? Mr. Heap and Mr. Baldoni also failed to close the set, allowing for non-essential crew to pass through while Blake Lively was mostly nude with her legs spread wide open in stirrups and only a small piece of fabric covering her genitalia. Among the non-essential persons present that day was Wayfarer and his co-chairman, Mr. Sarowitz, who flew in for one of his few set visits. Now, this being alleged that that piece of fabric, even though it was there, was not really covering anything because she was wide open, right? The billionaire Sarowitz, the one that pledged that he would spend $100 million to destroy Blake Lively and her husband, he flew in on one of his few visits to the sets to watch the scene. Blake was not provided with anything to cover herself with between takes until after she had to basically beg them with multiple requests. Blake even became more alarmed when Justin Baldini introduced his best friend to play the role of the OBGYN, when ordinarily a small role of this nature would be filled by a local actor. Blake Lively felt that the selection of Justin's best friend for this intimate role, in which the actor's face and hands were in close proximity to her nearly nude genitalia for a birth scene, was invasive and also humiliating. To add insult to injury, Heath approached Blake and her assistant on set and started playing a video of a fully nude woman with her legs spread apart. Blake thought he was showing her pornono and stopped him. He explained that the video was his wife giving birth. Blake was alarmed and asked him if his wife knew he was sharing that video, to which he replied, "She isn't weird about this stuff," as if Lively was weird for not welcoming it. Blake and her assistant excused themselves, stunned that he had shown them a nude video. Justin added a detailed scene to the film in which an underage version of Blake's character lost her V card. In both the book and the script of the film, there was no smeck scene. Instead, the details about this moment were left to the audience's imagination. But Justin added in considerable details, including both dialogue between young Lily and her boyfriend Atlas about the loss of her V, as well as a simulated smeck scene in which Justin filmed and included in his initial cut of the film. A close up of young Lily's face, accompanied by an audible gasp at the moment of mm. Blake was informed that when this scene was shot, after Justin called cut, he walked over to the actress and said, "I know I'm not supposed to say this, but that was hot," and said, "Did you two practice this before?" I think this was for underage actor. Okay, anyway. Justin and Mr. Heath discussed their personal and sexual experiences and previous P addiction and tried to pressure Blake to reveal details about her intimate life. During a car ride with Blake, her assistant and driver, Justin, Blake had claimed that Blake had been sexually abused by a former. Oh, wait, sorry. During a car ride with Blake, her assistant and a driver, Justin claimed that to Blake that he had been sexually abused by a former girlfriend, which he has since shared publicly. At the end of the story, he shared that it caused him to re-examine his past. He then said, "Did I always ask her for consent? No. Did I always listen when they said no? No." He claimed that this was an example of how we all have things from which we can learn and grow. Blake was unsettled by Justin's suggestion that he engaged in sexual conduct without consent. When Blake exited the car, her driver immediately remarked that he did not want Blake to be alone with Baldoni going further. On the first day of production, Justin and Heath described their past sexual relationships to Blake, including that one of them had used to hook up with the woman. Justin said that he had decided the woman wasn't the one, so then Heath had gotten together with her. Blake found this description of passing along a woman to be disrespectful and disturbing. Justin and Heath often spoke of their previous Poe addiction. Justin Baldini would often reference Popo to Blake, hoping to shut the subject down. She said to him privately that she had never seen it. Later, Justin was once again referencing his experience with Popo. He revealed in front of other cast and crew that Blake had never seen P. It was an incredible invasion of privacy to discuss any aspect of her intimate life with the cast and crew. Much revealed something she'd only told Justin Baldini to try to get him to stop talking about the subject with her. Justin engaged in other behaviors that were shocking and emotionally distressing. For example, he claimed he could speak to the dead, and on several occasions, he told her that he had spoken to her dead father. It was off-putting and violative for Justin Baldini to claim a personal relationship with her recently deceased father. Justin and Heath were also constantly hugging and touching cast and crew. When Blake and others avoided this touching, Justin Baldini and Heath would retaliate by becoming irritated, cold, and uncollaborative. The result was an unwelcoming and merciful environment for Blake, her employees, and others on set. They objectify Blake and other women by commenting on or criticizing their bodies as sex objects. They're saying that Justin Baldini often referred to women in the workplace as sexy. When they expressed discomfort, Justin would deflect or try to pass it off, which undermined Blake Lively and others' concerns. For example, on one occasion, he told a female cast member that that her leather pants looked sexy when she arrived to the set. She rebuffed his comments because she was uncomfortable. Rather than apologizing, he brushed it off with, I can say that because my wife is here today. Blake felt embarrassed witnessing this kind of commentary, as did others. On another day, Blake wore a low cut dress to facilitate breastfeeding, but had it covered up with a coat. When the jacket briefly popped open at one point to reveal the dress, Justin commented how much he liked her outfit, which really threw Blake off. Later that day, Justin pressured Blake, who was in her pre-appro wardrobe, to remove her coat in front of the crew and multiple background actors in a packed bar. He said he wanted to see her onesie under the coat because it was zipped low to reveal her lace bra. Consistent with past practices, he said, I think you look sexy, in a tone that made her feel ogled and exposed. With other female cast members present, she said, that's not what I was going for. He bristled and replied, I'm sorry, hot. Deeply uncomfortable. Miss Lively said, not that either. Justin responded sarcastically, I guess I missed the HR meeting, and walked away. Another woman on the production spoke to Blake afterward to offer empathy and share her own similar experience with Justin Baldini, commenting about her on sexual terms. As a result of Justin's behavior in May 2029, another cast member lodged a sexual harassment complaint against Justin's gross and unwanted comments towards her and others. While on one hand, Justin was objectifying Blake as a sex object, on the other hand, he went out of his way um, to message criticisms of her age and weight, neither of which she could change during filming. Let's also not forget that during filming, this woman was 4 months postpartum. Okay. On the second day, and she's a Hollywood actress, so I guess they're sensitive about their weight. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a bad vibes. Anyway, right? On the second day of filming, for example, Justin made the rest of the cast and crew wait for hours while he cried in Blake's dressing room, claiming social media commenters were saying that Blake looked old and unattractive based on paparazzi photos from the set. This guy is a psychopath. She tried to reassure him that she would look authentic in the scenes depicted in the photos, which were just after her character had been abused by her fictional husband rather than hot. Justin, however, appeared focused on Blake's sexual appeal above all else. His lengthy outburst caused a delay in shooting, forcing an emotional scene to be shot haphazardly. To make matters worse, when Blake tried to have a meeting with Heath and other producers to discuss Justin Baldoni's unprofessional behavior described above, that meeting turned into yet another violation. Rather than an ordinary meeting time and place, Heath arrived unannounced to Blake's hair and makeup trailer while she was topless and having body makeup removed by makeup artists. Blake told Heath that she was almost done and they could meet once she had clothes on. Heath, however, insisted that if she didn't allow him into her trailer to speak to him at that moment, there would be no meeting with other producers. Blake reluctantly agreed and asked Heath to keep his back turned. A few minutes into the conversation, Blake noticed that Heath was staring directly at her while she was topless. When she called him out, Heath brushed it off as a habit, avoiding to look at a person without speaking to them. Blake and her hair and makeup artist were deeply disturbed by this interaction on just the second day of the filming. Throughout filming, Justin and Heath invaded Blake's privacy by entering her makeup trailer uninvited while she was undressed, including when she was breastfeeding her infant child. She often had to work while breastfeeding, which she felt comfortable doing so long as she was given the time and space to cover herself. She did this frequently because she was not given breaks to feed her baby. But Blake did not expect or consent to anyone entering her private spaces while topless, exposed, and vulnerable with her newborn, or during body makeup application or removal. Justin and Heath both showed a shocking lack of boundaries by invading her personal space when she was undressed and um, vulnerable. They also didn't give her proper accommodation to breastfeed. Justin also routinely degraded Blake by finding back channel ways of criticizing her body and weight. A few weeks before filming began, and less than 4 months after Blake had given birth to her first child, Blake was humiliated to learn that Justin secretly called her fitness trainer without knowledge or permission and implied that he wanted her to lose weight in 2 weeks. He told the trainer that he had asked because he was concerned about having to her up in the scene for the movie. There was no such scene. When Blake caught strep throat, Justin offered as a gift to connect her with an expert he had on retainer to help her with probiotics and combat sickness. When Blake went to fill out the privacy forms, she saw the expert was not what Justin Baldini had represented her to be, but instead a weight loss specialist. Blake felt once again that Justin was shaming her for her body and weight. Justin and Heath failed to implement COVID protocols when there was a COVID outbreak on set. Blake was told by another producer that because Wayfair did not have insurance coverage for COVID, Justin and Heath deliberately withheld from Blake that she had been exposed to COVID. Both Blake and her infant child, oh my God, contracted COVID from the outbreak. They're saying Blake and others lodged grievances regarding the conduct of Justin and Heath, which Wayfair declined to investigate. They said as a studio producing the film, Wayfair was the employer of all the cast, right? And thus responsible for ensuring workplace safety on set. Wayfair failed to provide Blake with even rudimentary employment protections, such as an employee handbook, sexual harassment policy, information, or any training of sexual harassment, discrimination, or respectful Wayfair workplace expectations. They also failed to provide Blake with information about the process and procedure of filing HR complaints. As the producer and owner of the film, Wayfair was legally obligated to address HR-related concerns. To Blake Lively's knowledge, however, Wayfair lacked any process for responding to complaints in its leadership. And Justin and Heath were not going to investigate themselves. On May 26th, she told a representative of Sony she wanted to file an HR complaint about Justin and Heath's misconduct. Sony representative told Blake that Sony, as a distributor of the film, was not empowered to control Justin or Heath's behavior on set, and that such concerns must be raised with Wayfair, the studio responsible for the production. Wayfair, which is the billionaire, Baldini and Heath received and were aware of a number of HR grievances regarding their conduct. For example, on the first day of filming, while attempting to hug Blake's employee, Heath said, I don't even know if we're allowed to do this. It's day one and we have an HR report a report already. Additionally, early in production, another actress made a complaint about Justin's comments on her appearance. Justin expressly acknowledged her concerns in writing, stating he would adjust accordingly. Yet on June 8th, the actress informed Blake that outside of anything in the scene, I cannot actually talk to Justin at all. Justin later expressed suspicion regarding Lila's relationship with the actress and said they were colluding against him. Blake and the others attempted to raise concerns to Justin and Heath regarding conduct described um, before filming, but they were not addressed, given the futility of asking Justin and Heath to address their own behavior. And after an unsuccessful attempt to raise concerns with Sony, Blake expressly told Justin and Heath that there were serious HR problems on set. Heath responded that they knew, implying that someone had mentioned it to them that Blake had raised concerns. In response, Heath told Blake that he thought she wanted to see the nude videos of his wife. In the same conversation, when Blake expressed she was upset that Heath and Justin had hidden the fact that she would be exposed to COVID outbreak on set, blah 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 blah. Instead of acknowledging responsibility and committed to safety moving forward, they expressed that they were upset over production days missed and resulting costs. Despite multiple and detailed reports by Blake Lively and others about Justin Baldini and his friend Heath's misconduct, Wayfair failed to investigate those reports or otherwise institute protections to the cast. This is even though the incidents discussed above, among others, did not take place in isolation, and many witnessed. Yo, Blake Lively is going to get a bag from this, but so was a lot of people on set because this was out of control. Um, they engaged in harassing conduct, felt their obligations, investigating complaints, prevent inappropriate and harassing behaviors on set, and provide avenues for cast and cast members to safely raise concerns to neutral parties so that they could be investigated and appropriately addressed. As you guys know, agent, relationship, employee, agency, if someone is employed and they get all this power, you are responsible for what they do. And they should have actually provided other things, but whatever, right? Now, they negotiated a contract writer regarding Justin and Heath's conduct on the set of It Ends With Us. On May 2nd, 2023, the Writers Guild of America made up of two American labor unions, represented more than 16,000 writers in film, television, radio, online media, went on strike in connection with the labor dispute. The film temporarily halted production in June 2003 as a result of WGA picking. June 15th, 2023, Wayfair and Justin Baldini announced a continued halted production of the film due to the ongoing WGA strike and the lost days experienced from picketing. Now, excuse me, while the strike was underway, on July 14, 2023, the American Actors Union, known as SAG-AFTRA, the labor union, represents 160,000 people in the entertainment industry, including actors, recording artists, radio personalities, media, this, that, and the third, blah, 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 began a strike due to the labor dispute and the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. The WGA strike ended on September 27th. The SAG-AFTRA strike ended November 9th. Before returning to production, Blake attempted to address and resolve the problem on set and requested that Wayfair agree to address the conditions described above. On November, her attorney provided Wayfair's attorneys with a document entitled Protections of Return to Production. And conveying the protections for return to production, Blake requested that Wayfair agree to implement a plan that would enable everyone to return to work, complete the film with adequate protections to ensure the safe set moving forward. Okay, seems easy enough. However, on November 11th, counsel for Wayfair indicated that Wayfair, Sony, and production respectfully acknowledge your client has concerns regarding safety, professional workplace. Although our perspective differs in many aspects, ensuring a safer environment for all involved is paramount, irrespective of differing viewpoints. Regarding your outline requests, we find most of them not only reasonable, but also essential for the benefits of the parties involved. So they agreed to the terms of the contractual writer, the intimacy coordinator, blah, blah, blah. We went through all that. They agreed to all of that. Okay, so they're going through all the provisions they said they did. They said they wouldn't do it anymore, and they memorialized it in language of the writer, and they both agreed. Production concluded, and Blake and other castmates promoted the film according to the marketing plan. In connection with the film's release, Blake and the rest of the cast actually promoted the film in accordance to the marketing plan. Okay. Wayfarer had embraced and, upon information and belief, had formally approved of this marketing plan. The marketing plan and the related talking points expressly require Blake Lively, as well as all other cast and crew engaged in promotional activities, to focus more on her character's strength and resilience as opposed to describing the film as a story of DV, and to avoid talking about this film in any way that makes you feel sad or heavy. It's a story of hope. They promoted the film as said. They said Justin, however, publicly embraced the marketing plan. In early May 2024, he appeared at a floral-themed trailer launch event, which included him personally making flower bouquets for influencers, a photo opportunity, and a film-branded latte art. He appeared at a pop-up at Lily Bloom's flower shop in Century City, California, where he held a long stem rose microphone and playfully gave tours of the shop to influencers. In a TikTok interview posted that day, Justin excitedly walks through the pop-up and states he'll be giving tours all day, every day until August 9th. However, in advance of the film, nearly all cast members chose to appear in public separately from Justin, given his on-set behavior. Justin became concerned that the public would discover that something is much bigger than under the surface on information and belief, alluding to the complaints lodged by Blake and others. At this point, Justin pivoted away from the film's marketing plan to explain his absence from the rest of the cast. He shifted the focus away from the message of female triumph to instead capitalize on female trauma. After the film's premiere, Justin changed his Instagram profile, canceled lighthearted social media posts, and instructed his team to look for survivor reactions and support, all in an effort to quickly shift his own public narrative to focus solely on survivors and domestic violence organizations. Abel cautioned Justin that his shift might be too drastic too soon. That's the PR girl. Still, Justin insisted on a TikTok strategy and that his promotional activities for the film should seek to amplify what he described as survivor content. Again, it said, Justin, hey, just landed. What is a TikTok strategy? I'd like you guys to start posting me only talking about DV and clips and why this movie is so important. The team followed, so he was running his own PR campaign, not approved, and even media thing, not approved by anybody or anything. Okay. They said after repositioning, the team followed Justin's instructions. For her part, Abel concluded it doesn't feel performative now that you've done major substantial press on the topic. On August 11th, Abel laid out a posting timeline for Justin and the team stating, theater surprise and I think survivor content first thing tomorrow, which will then be helpful for the news cycle. So they were literally exploiting battered women and trauma survivors to try to get them against Blake. By repositioning Justin's marketing of the film on information and belief, Justin hoped to create a false impression that he had chosen not to appear alongside other cast members. Justin directed his team to share his public Instagram feed the private messages he had received from survivors sharing their stories of DV with them. Justin's team talked him out of this idea, writing they do not recommend using private DM content. They said also, I need you guys to really be on all the stories I'm tagged in. I think you should let all people DM me so you can propose. Sorry, let me get closer. So you can propose uh, people's reactions to the film, and I can be reposting everything. These next 36 hours are crucial, and we need to be on it. Looking at everything, finding the most emotional and touching content from survivors supporting the film and reporting. Need you to be finding survivors, sharing their stories and amplifying them on my page and TikTok. He literally used women. He has a podcast about feminism and women's rights, was using this. Mr. Baldini went so far as proposing to share a video of a woman's birth moment, but his team talked him out of it, warning it might be perceived as weird and was too intimate. Still, Justin's team was more than willing to deploy survivors, stories, reactions, and images to protect Justin's images. They formulated a retaliatory plan. Um, he knew the details of Blake Lively's and others' concerns, the HR complaints raised regarding Justin and Heath's behavior, Blake's contractual rider, and the January 4th, 2004 meeting to discuss their behavior. In addition, Wayfair's PR team knew about the claims that Blake and others, as well as the protections rider, Wayfair sent the materials to them in November. As early as May 2024, Justin Baldini told his team that they needed a plan to get ahead of the claims against them in the event they were to go public. Specifically, Justin wrote, "Just want you guys to have a plan. Plans make me feel more at ease." On May 17th, Justin texted his publicist, Jennifer Abel, that Blake's husband had blocked him on social media, stating, "We should have a plan for if she does the same when the movie comes out." On June 2024, a month after Justin's first promotional event for the film, Blake and others in the cast fulfilled their first public publicity obligation for the film without Justin. They did not publicly discuss the misconduct that occurred on the set, nor did they suggest to Wayfair or Justin that they intended to discuss their concerns publicly. Yet on June 20th, Miss Abel texted Heath her concern. "We can't have fans starting to guess why Justin Baldini is left out of his stuff." Likewise, Baldini strategized with his publicist, Abel, who I believe is Drake's publicist, and I who believe, if not she's someone that is like an able person, is also working with Diddy on his case right now, about various ways in which they might cover up or explain away his onset misconduct. On June 2024, for example, Justin proposed offensive moves showing his neurodivergence and some of the attributes that come with it to explain that anything that he had been accused of was social awkwardness and impulsive speech. They literally tried to say that he was neurodivergent and that's why he was harassing people. This guy's a piece of crap. On the same day, he reviewed again the agreed upon list of protections and formed the basis for the contractual rider in July. So while he was saying, "Yeah, I'll sign the rider," he was already planning the smear campaign. Ms. Abel emailed Heath and others requesting the legal letter that was sent to Blake and her team, stating, "Per our conversation, we will go through point by point draft context surrounding each situation. We can flag what we're missing that will be helpful to arm us in case we need to refute any of these claims." Justin sent the PR person a Variety article about Francis Ford Coppola's inappropriate behavior on set during production of the movie Megapolis, including his allegedly kissing of the cast and crew as described by unnamed sources. Okay, hold on. In conveying the article, Mr. Baroni stated, "This is the ish that I'm sure they want to do." Unnamed source. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, technical difficulty, i.e., I wanted to take a bite of my food. Anyway, right? Um, Miss A. Okay, so anyway, on July, blah blah blah. Okay, on July 29th, Justin and Abel discussed a proposal to get ahead of any potential publicity regarding Blake's HR complaints against him with a social and digital combat plan. Wayfair engages Melissa Nathan and the agency group on behalf of Mr. Baldoni to launch a retaliation campaign against Blake Lively. They said, and this is actually really important to note, they said, as the film's release date on August 9th, 2024 drew closer, Justin Baldini, Mr. Heath, Wayfair, and Miss Abel and others continued to pursue a strategy on behalf of Justin and Wayfair to arm themselves against the possibility that Blake Lively or others might go public with claims against Justin and Wayfair. Now, this plan took shape with Wayfair's retention on behalf of Wayfair and Mr. Baldoni of Melissa Nathan, which occurred on or around July 31st. Now, keep in mind, it's supposed to be secret. Melissa Nathan is a crisis manager. On about June 20th, Nathan launched the agency group PR, TAG PR. TAG markets itself as a team of crisis specialists and communication experts that redefines the rules of reputation management. Again, ask yourself if I believe the Drakes, the Diddys, the whoever's of the world, right? If they're on her client list, and we think we have a way to go down. It's knowing how to navigate the narrative towards continued success and lasting legacy. TAG's website states that it offers comprehensive communication services for individuals, businesses, corporations looking to invest in reputation management and the growth of their unique public profiles. TAG specializes in crisis communications, having managed some of the biggest public facing crises to date, and utilizes the fast paced, reputation first mindset with all of its day to day clients, which span a variety of industries, including entertainment, media, business, and sports. TAG services include messaging and narrative development, media relations, crisis communication, and management, and digital and social strategy, among others. By July, Wayfair had started to put together a timeline of events to be shared with Miss Nathan and TAG. According to TAG's own planning document, the purpose of Miss Nathan's engagement was to help Justin Baldini get ahead of the narrative and mitigate bad press that might arrive from Blake Lively and others' HR complaints becoming public, engaging in techniques such as rapid response communication system, and catalog third-party advocates willing to provide potential quote or engage with reporters on Justin Baldini's and Mr. Heath's behalf to mitigate negative narratives from a wide source outside of Wayfair. Again, the billionaire that said he was going to spend up to $100 million is paying for all of this. As set forth above, on August 5th, Justin sent out Miss Abel a screenshot of, the Hailey Bieber thread on Twitter. The next day, even though Miss Nathan and TAG had already begun performing work on behalf of Wayfair and Justin Baldini, Miss Nathan sent a text chain with Miss Abel and Mr. Heath providing pricing quotes ranging from $75,000 to $175,000 for TAG's crisis mitigation services. They explained the quote as following. You guys, wake up. This is the bread and butter. Quote 1, $175K. This will be for a 3 to 4 month period and includes websites to discuss, full Reddit, full social account takedowns, full social crisis team on hand for anything to engage with audiences in the right way. Start threads of theories to discuss. This is the way to be fully 100% protected. Quote 2, 25K per month. Minimum 3 months is as it needs to seed, same as above. So already you have a base of 175,000, then an additional 75,000 to seed things as above. This will be the creation of social fan engagement to go back and forth with any negative accounts. That is, so if the victim shared their story about what Justin did, they were paying people to argue and go back and forth, helping to change the narrative and stay on track. Ms. Nathan stated, all this will be most importantly untraceable. There's a lot more to both of these quotes, but it's easier to discuss via phone in terms of capabilities and what I have currently experienced in and out of crisis development. Listen, the Hollywood Reporter announced the retention of Nathan and TAG on August 13th. That report stated the news comes days after sleuths flooded TikTok with speculation about the alleged rift between Justin about an Hollywood Reporter. They do their research. And again, when I say all legacy media, clearly not the Hollywood Reporter. There is a link to the article the Hollywood Reporter wrote about me. But the fact that the Hollywood Reporter actually did their research and said, yo, they have this weird PR crisis team working for them. They said the news comes days after sleuths flooded TikTok with speculation about an alleged rift between Justin Baldoni and his cast and crew, including co-star and producer Blake Lively as well as Hoover. Chatter spiked when fans noticed Justin Baldini's absence from joint press events and the lack of group photos of Blake Lively and Justin Baldini together in New York premiere on August 6th. Some also pointed out that neither Blake Lively nor Hoover nor the rest of the cast following James Baldini on Instagram, even though he follows them. They're saying that Justin Heath and Wayfair perpetrate a retaliation scheme against Blake Lively. Miss Abel, Nathan, and other employees engaged and tagged perpetrated a retaliation scheme against Blake Lively in collusion with Justin Baldini, Heath, and Wayfair. The scheme was what Tag described as social manipulation plan, relying on direct and constant media engagement, the seeding of content on traditional and social media platforms, and boosting the content, sometimes the very content that Tag and its affiliates had seeded, the suppressing of negative content about Justin Baldini and amplifying the negative content about Blake Lively. On August 1st, before any of the cast sat down for interviews at the film's press junkets, Abel stated that Heath and Wayfair personnel that she had an in-person meeting with a contributor to People, Fox News, In Touch, and US Weekly. Miss Abel, again, let me just repeat that. She held in-person meetings with contributors from People, Fox News, In Touch, and Us Weekly. Abel explained that during the meeting, she had fully briefed the contributor of the situation with Blake Lively. Abel stated that the contributor was armed and ready to take the story of Blake weaponizing feminism and assured Mr. Heath that the contributor will do anything for us. Who's the contributor? I have to look that up. Let's see who it says. So they're also calling Deadline, Jezebel, Weiner. Everybody was reposting this stuff, but nobody had checked. So they're already admitting that they have mainstream media. Again, People Magazine, Fox News, In Touch, Us Weekly. You also have the New York Post and a few other people on there that they actually control the narrative and have people that will write anything they told them to. They contacted the contributor with Miss Nathan. Subsequently, Nathan engaged directly with media sources and on behalf of Justin Baldoni and Wayfair regarding Justin, Blake, and the film. In August, Baldoni, Abel, and others had a phone call to discuss the services that Miss Nathan and Tag, that's the PR people, will provide Justin and Wayfair. On August 2nd, they circulated a document to Justin Baldoni and others entitled Scenario Planning, It Ends With Us. Of note, the scenario planning document states there are several potential scenarios at play here, which we should be prepared for should Blake and her team make her grievances public. The scenario planning documents Tag's recommendation to get ahead of the narrative. This includes suggesting misleading messaging that production members lost their jobs due to Blake's takeover and insisted upon involvement. I remember that rumor. And it was printed in mainstream Legacy. Blake involved her husband to create an imbalance of power between her and Justin Baldini. I remember that narrative. Blake has a less than favorable reputation in the industry. Blake had a clear likely motive to bully her way into buying the rights of It Starts With Us, the sequel of the film currently owned by Wayfair. The scenario planning document states that Tag could also explore planting stories about the weaponization of feminism and how people in Blake Lively's circle, like Taylor Swift, have been accused of utilizing these tactics to bully into getting what they want. Upon review of the scenario planning document, Justin Baldini informed Mr. Heath that he was not in love with the document they sent, not sure he's feeling protective. So he wanted them to go and be even more aggressive. They responded. It's an important part of this is how quickly they can shut things down and place stories in your favor. Later that same day, the head of the PR crisis told the PR guru that Justin Baldini was questioning whether the plan was aggressive enough, texting that Justin wanted to feel like Blake could be buried. Nathan, the PR crisis person says, whatever, says, of course, but when we send over the documents, we can't send over the work. what the work will or could do just because it could get us in a lot of trouble. We can't write that down. We can't write "we will destroy her." Imagine if a document saying all those things that he wants ends in the wrong hands. On August 4th, Abel texted Nathan. So the PR and the communications team were talking, saying, "I'm having reckless thoughts of wanting to plant pieces this week of how horrible Blake is to work with just to get ahead of it. She's putting us through hell." Blake Lively was, in fact, doing nothing other than engaging in the approved marketing plan for the film at that time. Nathan responded, same, that indicated she had already spoken to the Daily Mail. Ms. Abel and Nathan viewed and referred to their shared work on behalf of Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer as a social combat plan. That same day, they corresponded with TAG personnel regarding her discussion that Ms. Nathan regarding social manipulation, which she described as distinct from social media mitigation and proactive fan posting to counter the narrative. When media sources made direct inquiries regarding potentially unflattering sources about Justin Baldini specifically, Miss Nathan and Miss Abel and their teams worked to suppress those stories. For example, on August 7th, TAG indicated their intent to leverage social to quiet kill media coverage regarding public suspicions regarding Justin's disconnect from the film's cast. On August 9th, those two women they put two links to articles, one from the Hollywood Reporter entitled, "Did Blake Lively, Justin Bellini have a rift over It Ends With Us? Sleuthing TikTokers think so," and one from the Daily Mail entitled, "Disturbing Truth Behind Why Blake Lively and It Ends With Us stars are feuding with Justin Baldini." The Daily Mail article reports on allegations that Justin Baldini was chauvinistic and borderline abusive on the set of It Ends With Us and discusses this and other claims with respect to the film and the cast. However, Miss Abel stated to Miss Nathan, "I can tell you've done a lot of work here. Nothing about being unsafe. Fat comments, sexual. Thank effing God." Again, why is this so important? Because they are giving us the game that these Hollywood people, but it's deeper than that because they're giving us the agencies. They're giving us the number one PR guru. They're giving us the Diddy special. Um, Further that month, they stated the situation that moved from just monitoring and scenario planning to Nathan and me have an off the record conversation with outlets such as the Today Show, noting that because of Mrs. Nathan's relationship, those outlets were being kept at bay. So it wasn't just the outlets reporting the gibberish, it was the mainstream outlets that should have stepped in and been like, "Wait, what's going on?" And they were being held at bay, like, "Never mind, we're not going to cover it." Again, what's covered and not covered in mainstream media, we are beginning to see it's nothing but manipulation to the highest bidder. On August 9th, Nathan indicated that she was on the phone with her sister. Sarah Nathan, a journalist in the New York Post, contributor to Page Six, and remarked that Justin Baldini's religion could be taken out of context from the media coverage. She went on to state, and mostly misogynistic. Later that same day, Miss Nathan texted Abel a link to an article on Page Six by Sarah Nathan, her sister, entitled "Truth Behind It Ends With Us Feud Rumors. Justin Baldini made Blake Lively uncomfortable," sources say, stating, I knew she would keep uncomfortable." On August 9th, Abel and Nathan discussed suppressing two stories that report Blake was uncomfortable on set. Nathan texted, "All press is so overwhelming. We've confused people. So much mixed messaging. It's actually really funny if you think about it." Again, I just want to say that it is blowing my mind that two people, the PR and the crisis people, are running so much interference that they are controlling completely the news media with the legacy media, completely controlling it. She further texted the PR further texted the public relations that the worst is over and that Justin Baldini likely would not get canceled, corroborating the nature of the ongoing campaign was designed to harm Blake and conceal Justin's conduct. The following day, she stated that the narrative online is so freaking good and the fans are still sticking up for Justin. And there literally has been no pickup on those two articles, one from the Hollywood Reporter and one from Daily Mail that actually dug and got the research and got the truth. She said there has been no pickup of those two articles, which is actually shocking to me. But I see this as a total success. As does Justin. You did such an amazing work. Miss Nathan responded, so did you. Later that same day, they said the majority of socials are so pro Justin, and I don't even agree with half of them. She continued, I mean, that was just a lot of work, just talking everyone off the effing ledge for those two pieces. He doesn't realize how lucky he is right now. We need to press on him just how effing lucky he is. The whispering in the air, the sexual connotations like Jesus effing Christ, other members feeling uncomfortable watching it. I mean, there was just so much. The following day, Miss Abel confirmed that Justin Baldini that there had been nothing, very little pickup, and that fans believe the issue of the feud is because she took control of the movie. Earlier on August 9th, Miss Nathan had shared with Miss Abel that she had been informed we were crushing it on Reddit. Miss Nathan's preferences to Jed is a reference to Jed Wallace, and this is important, an independent contractor based in Austin, Texas, who is retained by TAG to perform social media services on behalf of Wayfair and Mrs. Baldini in connection to TAG's engagement. The quotations appears to be a reference to efforts by Mr. Wallace to seed and influence online forums on Reddit attacking Blake Lively and defending Mr. Baldoni. That same day, an employee of Tag, that's the PR place, texted a link to a salacious story about Blake's family and noted the tides are swirling around Ryan now, FYI. Among these same lines, the team had previously shared an upsetting TikTok video which called for Blake to divorce Ryan. Writing, you guys will love this. It's very helpful. They literally, y'all, hold on. This is wild. This is wild. Hold on, guys. Okay, let's just get back to on August 10th. They said that the socials are really, really ramping up. It's actually sad because it just shows you how people really want to hate on women. That same day, a member at TAG advised a shift on social due largely to Jed and his team's efforts to shift the narrative toward shining a spotlight on Blake and Brian's marriage. Further, Miss Nathan and her team at TAG helped generate and otherwise influence the content put forth by various TikTok account holders. During that same period of time, Miss Nathan, Mr. Abel, and their team were heavily monitoring, had friendlies updating them, those are news sources, and sought to address unflattering commentary regarding Justin Baldini while augmenting the spread of stories that were favorable to Justin. For example, they circulated a screenshot of a post by a woman stating, Justin, the creator of the show called My Last Days, exploits the struggles of individuals facing terminal illness for his own gain. He found my friend who was battling a serious illness and followed her life closely. Despite her grace in not speaking ill of him, I sensed from the start that something was deeply wrong. Justin weaponizes therapeutic language, presenting himself as a thoughtful, supportive, yet his actions reveal very different reality. He portrays himself as an ally to women and the vulnerable, but it's all facade. He manipulates the vernacular of care to mask his intention. In reality, none of the proceeds from the show benefited the individuals profiled. He even had the audacity to depict her hometown, a vibrant and affluent community, as a small, impoverished town. His portrayal was not just inaccurate, but insulting. Once the show aired, Justin took his profits and vanished, leaving nothing but a sense of exploitation in his wake. His behavior was not just tacky and gross, it was a betrayal of the very people he claimed to uplift. In response to the article, what did the PR team do? Said, I'm assuming this is not true in the slightest. Either way, we flagged it to Jed and his team for more serious action on the social side. The team discussed ways to use the digital team to amplify positive stories. They had a chat with Jed in response to the allegations made against Mr. Baldoni. Anyway, they used the social manipulation team, on and on and on. They circulated a TikTok video in which a poster criticized Blake for not speaking for domestic violence in press interviews. A member of Nathan's team responded she would let digital know. During the same time period, when media sources inquired about the HR complaints that were set forth in the film, Miss Nathan and Miss Abel and their teams worked to suppress coverage of these HR complaints. Further, in and around August 14th, media outlets directly inquired about HR complaints made on set because they were being told that there were at least 3 complaints filed against Justin, and inquired if the complaints were investigated and what the results were. By this time, individuals at TAG, Nathan and April, were aware of the existence of HR complaints and sought clarity on the thing. Anyway, approximately 1 minute later, she asserted that the need to position the claims as claims that were already out there about the kiss and the weight comment. Oh my gosh. Referencing earlier public reporting by TMZ on Justin Baldoni's lingering kiss with Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni's comments regarding her weight. Yo, listen. Let's get to the end of this. On or around the same date, Nathan directly engaged with several media platforms discussing the issue of the HR complaints made against Justin while on the set of the film. On August 15th, Nathan texted Mrs. Abel that DM handed me HR complaints. She stated that DM, that's the Daily Mail, is not running any content about it. Continuing, Jen, this went so well, I'm effing dying. I have to call you later in a bit and tell you how this went. It was genius. So, okay, we have 4 major media outlets standing down on the HR complaint. I think we'll be fine with that in a bit. During the same period of time, Nathan and his team at Miss Nathan and the team at TAG, planted or otherwise, were involved in generating and influencing content publicly put forth on social media, including Reddit and TikTok, as well as online mainstream legacy media sources. For example, various text messages were exchanged between Abel and journalist Sarah Nathan, who, as we explained above, is Melissa Nathan's sister. These messages consisted of drafts of a story outlining Blake Lively's role in making final cuts to the film. After Sarah Nathan circulated draft language related to Blake's involvement in the different cuts of the film, Abel sent Sarah Nathan revisions to the draft, which Sarah Nathan offered to amend. On the same day, an article authored by Sarah Nathan titled Blake Lively Approved Final Cut of It Ends With Us Amid Feud with co-director Justin Baldini was published in Page 6, owned by the New York Post. The article addressed, among other things, Blake's role in approving the final cut of the film, but emphasized that Blake contributed to almost every single aspect of the film, that her husband wrote one of the most important scenes in the movie, and that she was begged to remove one of her song choices from the film, despite Justin Baldini's ownership of the rights to the book via his production company. Again, this was printed in a mainstream media outlet like it was true, and it was all lies. The language contained in the article of almost a verbatim copy of language exchange between Sarah and Mrs. Abel via text, and reflects multiples of Miss Abel's revisions to Sarah Nathan's original proposed draft. TAG publicly shared this article on one or more social media platforms, including Reddit, prompting various negative comments in relation to Blake and her husband, and a narrative that Blake steamrolled or bulldozed Justin Baldini in the film for her own personal gain. It's not over. That very same day, Nathan sent an article from the Daily Mail. Is Blake Lively set to be canceled? String of hard-to-watch videos that have surfaced following tone-deaf Q&A to promote It Ends With Us. She said, you really outdid yourself with this piece. Miss Nathan responded, that's why they hired me, right? Following the launch of Blake's hair care line, Blake Brown, which she had spent 7 years building, the Instagram account for the brand was flooded with harassing and derogatory comments, including many posted by user accounts that had no followers and no prior posts, suggesting inauthenticity, which did not relate to the brand's products. To take just one example, one comment posted on the Blake Brown account by a user that as of December 19th showed metrics indicating 0 posts, 0 followers, and 0 following, commenting, how about you stop paying the media to trash and smear Justin? That would be a good start, you awful human being. Another user, also with 0 posts, 0 followers, and 0 following, said, We want Justin's cut of the movie. He actually cares about Dee. Justin and his billionaire friend Sarah Witch, along with Mr. Heath, not only encouraged efforts to target Lively and their family, but they went so far as to provide input on ideas on ways to negatively influence the narrative against Blake and her family. For instance, on the film's release date, after sharing certain negative articles about himself with Miss Abel, Justin stated, "There's no way we can just let this go." Justin texted Miss Nathan and Miss Abel stating that his business partner, Sarah Wood, suggested flipping the narrative arising from unnamed sources who had made claims about Ryan Reynolds' involvement in the script of the film and suggested ways to manipulate these rumors to make Ryan Reynolds appear to be anti feminist. There was no truth at all to these claims. Nathan assured Miss Nathan assured Justin Baldini that this was an easy flip before indicating that she was already working on a story for Variety that would achieve this goal. Nathan was continuing to confer with additional reporters to release stories that would cast Blake Lively and Mr. Reynolds in a negative light. Meanwhile, Blake Lively neither publicly commented nor directed any of her representatives to comment to or engage with the print media, social media, or otherwise about the hostile work environment about Justin Baldini. Listen, they said actually throughout that time period, Blake did not provide her publicist with details about the hostile work environment and that she, alongside with other cast members and crew, had experienced. Moreover, Blake Lively expressly instructed her publicist not to engage with press inquiries, so she stayed out of the press. Experiencing a very sudden tidal wave of increasingly negative public attention building around her, however, Blake began to suspect that the extraordinarily rapid shift of public sentiment and press coverage that began immediately after the rest of the cast and crew attended the world premiere was likely orchestrated by the men about that she had raised HR complaints about. You guys, listen, this complaint goes on and on and on. Blake did her job. She even got she Blake did this complaint is like 60. How many pages is this? Blake Okay, so this plate complaint is 62 pages. Let me see. Is there anything? They said that the social media campaign engineered by Mr. Baldini and Welfare helped create and sustain a negative news cycle and social media algorithm around Blake Lively. The online narrative continues to trend more negatively as compared to other weeks. So listen, Blake put in metrics. She put in upon information and belief, where to your team seeded social media content for publications with small audiences and lax editorial standards, then fed those posts and articles to publications like Page Six, Newsweek, New York Post, TMZ, BuzzFeed, People Magazine, Us Weekly. These publications have larger audiences and greater reach, but significantly amplified the negative sentiment toward Blake Lively. Content from low influence sites was often linked and referenced in articles to these high influencers. Yo, you guys, listen. At the end of the day, Blake's about to get a bag, and so is anybody else that was actually harassed. But it brings up an interesting context, right? First of all, let me just read this so much. Um, where we at? Oh, Main Mystic. Thank you so much, Main Mystic, for the super chat. It brings up a lot of interesting questions, okay? And I'm going to make a few follow-up videos on it. But if you read Blake Lively's lawsuit in entirety, it exposes the game. I believe this is what happens. I believe this is what happens with that 13-year-old Busby. The way NBC did a weird hit piece, much like these magazines did this for Blake Lively. We saw it with Drake and Pusha T. Drake uses his firm. Diddy uses either this firm or a firm like it. Jay-Z, listen, but everybody say, every Hollywood person, when they are going through a crisis, if they have the money and if they are big enough a commodity, they hire a PR guru and they hire a crisis PR management. This is what the crisis PR management does. They create false narratives. They plant it in traditional media, and they go out their way to destroy everybody in their path. You guys, Blake Lively, no matter what you think of her, I do think that she was set up and framed. But Blake Lively, no matter what you think of her, she needs a thank you because she has exposed and ripped apart the Hollywood game and the way that these celebrities have been playing us for years by masquerading as grassroots engagement and literally planting articles written by the PR people for the people accused of doing the crimes. And these reporters, this mainstream legacy is just taking and printing it verbatim, or even worse, they're making sure that all the news media, all the stuff, that they are not going to put any counter narrative. Again, Blake Lively has put us down on the game. This is a big lawsuit. I'll be unpacking it in other videos, but you guys, listen, we'll be unpacking this and literally drawing bigger methods to when it comes to Diddy. Anyway, you guys, let me know what you think in the comments, and I will talk to you later. Bye.